So what do y'all say we jump into some setup spotlight? Yeah, this is really, really nice looking. And actually, I really like this wallpaper too. I don't know, it's very simplistic, but it just works really well. Yeah, so this is really nice. And I think I mentioned this last time. You have really, really good hardware. And I like the Asus Zephyrus laptop too. So we'll take a look at the pictures here and then we'll dive. Alrighty, let's jump into the questionnaire. Okay, so Big Bob, your goals for this setup. Have a nice place to do school, learn programming, and of course do some gaming, of course. Very cool. This is very flexible. I like the laptop. That'll be helpful when you go to college too, to just kind of pick up and go in terms of having your all-in-one gaming and productivity. So I think that's actually a really, really smart choice. Your style is clean. This looks pretty clean. I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty clean. So I can dig it. Looks like you have a little bit of budget to do some upgrades, which is cool. What do you like most about your setup? He likes his PC the most because it can handle whatever you throw at it. What do you have in this laptop? What's the graphics card? I don't think I have it any notes on your specs, but I do remember that from last year when I was looking at these that they had some pretty nice specifications actually. So, what do you dislike most about your setup, and how do you plan to improve it? So, cable management. You plan to buy cable sleeves and a cable rack. Okay, and so we started off on that one picture, and that's the reason why I wanted to read the questionnaire first before we got, because it's something that he is self-aware of and he's going to plan on fixing. So I'll give some tips from my experience doing cable management, but I think that's going to be ultimately one of the biggest things here. What are you looking to upgrade in the coming future? Switching to a desktop. Okay, cool. So yeah, the only problem is right now the desktop situation is really, really tough. As everyone knows, it is so hard to get your hands on, you know, like a really good Ryzen CPU, and then also a really any graphics card right now. So I think it's fine. I mentioned the flexibility of having this for college. You can still use that. It's a little harder to bring like a tower to college, but I mean, even still, I think it's always cool to have your own gaming PC, like actual desktop for performance and stuff. So, oh, and sorry, so the laptop specs, he did answer. So it's a Ryzen 9 and a 2060. So really solid, really, really good. Really solid specs for a laptop. I like this keyboard. It's really clean. The thing is as I've gotten older, and I don't know if this is just generally the overall taste of everyone, I've just preferred less gamery looking everything. And so I really appreciate the fact that this is still kind of has that vibe with RGB and stuff, but it's very simple and minimal to where it's not like in your face gaudy. So I like this. Cool. So I'm going to just kind of go down the list here. So these are the newer ones. So I think I mentioned this in the last time that we saw this setup, was the thing that just kind of throws me for a loop whenever I see this initially is the fact that this painting is offset from the actual desk. And now that I see this right here, I can understand why you try to center it here between these. I still think that the way to go is to center it between the edges of the desk though. I think that would look a lot cleaner, especially with the desk being the focal point of your room. It just feels a little bit off for this to be off centered, if you know what I mean. So that's something that just visually striking wise, I think would make a big difference off the bat. So first recommendation definitely would be to shift the painting over. I like the painting a lot. I think it's clean and I think it's pretty. I like the colors in it a lot. So I think it's just a matter of just kind of shifting it over. So not a big deal. Your brother does a lot of art. Oh, you and your brother painted it. Wow, that's awesome, man. It's really, really pretty. Great job. First of all, we have so much talent in this community. It's crazy. But anyway, so what I was going to kind of get at was you could add some different things like floating shelves over here, like above the TV and things like that. That would be one thing you could go. I was going to say you could put, I think that it maybe just in a vacuum would look better on this side, but you also have a door here. I didn't notice the door first. So I don't think that it would be wise to put floating shelves there. I mean, you could, but then basically the only time that you could really enjoy your setup is if the door's closed, which I don't know. But otherwise, it's just kind of an empty space. So just something to consider. So as I'm looking at this, so these are the newer pictures. I personally liked the idea of having this where you have it here. I don't, and it's kind of one of those things where I'd have to see it on this other side. I don't know which side I prefer it on, but I like it better at this orientation. Because the problem is whenever you have it behind the screen like this, it just kind of gives this more cluttered vibe to it. It looks like stuff is just kind of stacked. And again, it's a smaller, relatively speaking, smaller desk. So it just, whenever you have more stuff on there and you have it especially broadside like that, it just looks like it's taking up more space and cluttering empty space to make things look, because you're going for that clean look, right? And by turning it and orienting it this direction, from the face-on view, it really kind of clears up the spacing to where you can kind of see through a lot more. So I think that this is really the more preferred orientation. That's my okay. But let's go through the questionnaire. So, all right. So let's kick it off. So what are Paul's goals for his setup? He says he's not really sure. He's looking for things to make it better. It's a pretty good setup, but it's missing something. And this is kind of a common theme, like this missing something. I have a personal take on this that we'll kind of get to as to what I think you might think feels like it's off or missing. Your style will be minimalistic with limited to no RGB. We got an anti-RGB Andy. Which I respect, man. I like the way that kind of stealthy, more professional setups look. We don't have too many of them, so I enjoy it. I totally get it. Your budget, you say that you don't need to upgrade anything. You have a great desk, keyboard, mouse, etc. This is like the bravado I'm talking about. Where I was reading it and I was like, yes. So my man is an anti-RGB Andy, which we love. We love it. His budget, he doesn't need to upgrade anything. Remember, he's a confident man, which is fine. What do you like most about your setup? Cable management. I think you did a really nice job on cable management. I don't know. I think this is your headphone wire. But what is this song? All right. So cable management. Again, I think you did a great job. I think you did a really, really nice job with cable management, execution wise. 2 cables visible routers downstairs, so you have 75-foot cable. Yes, I love the commitment to the wired internet. 75-footer, baby. Let's go. Now, before we kind of move on, since we're talking about cables, one of the things you can do, oh god, I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. I have an example in my setup. Damn it. You can put a cable raceway along your baseboards. Hold on, let me look up a picture. You'll know what I'm talking about, right? I'm gonna go crazy. It's like the white one that you like slide the piece of. I'm gonna try and explain this. It's something like this. Something like this. And you can have this running along your baseboards, like down here. And just have that wire running through the baseboard, and it's basically invisible. You know what I'm talking about. Thank God. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I think everybody knows what I'm talking about now. Okay, so what do you dislike most about the setup? How do you plan to improve it? You love everything, but as you stated earlier, it's just missing something. Again, I kind of have thoughts on that. What are you looking to upgrade? You're not really sure. That's why you're submitting. Fair. Totally fair response. Okay, so I really like that questionnaire. It's full of brimming with confidence, and you know what you're going for here. The funny thing is like people don't talk about this enough, but so much of those submissions and stuff is staging. Now, granted, I do like to personally keep a pretty clean shop, but there's a lot of staging involved. Like to use your setup, it has to be functional, right? And I'll kind of talk about that a little bit when we talk about walls and stuff, but yeah. Let's start with the desk. So I think that the desk is pretty clean. I know you're not an RGB guy, so I'm not going to sit here and recommend a bunch of RGB crap to you. But again, I think that it's a very clean setup. I like the fact that you used a monitor stand. I guess that's a good time to talk about it. That being said, I do think that someone mentioned it earlier. There is something that just looks a little bit off about having the stand protrude from the top like this. It doesn't look horrible, so you have to understand. And I think it's always just good to reiterate before diving into these. When I go into these, understand that, I think that, for example, I think this is a great setup. It's very, very nice. It looks like you built something that's fit for purpose. It's clean, well executed, great cable management. This is a very, very nice setup. So I want to preface with that. And just understand that the stuff I'm going to be talking about here is like it's like little tiny nitpicks, So don't get like don't take it like super personally or like, oh no, he thinks it sucks or whatever. Like, no, what I'm trying to do is just be super constructive and think of everything I possibly can just to throw it out there for your consideration, and then you can take it or leave it. But I just want to help out however I can. So, okay, so for the monitor stand, Paul, you say it's too tall or too low. So I kind of framed it this way. There's really 3 different paths you can go for this. And I'm going to preface this again by saying, I think that well, maybe there's technically 4, with number 1 being change nothing. Okay, so let's just get that out of the way. The things you can change to get that to disappear. Number 1 would be you can mount your secondary monitor vertically. Now, that's kind of one of those things where you have to ask yourself, would I get more functionality out of having a vertical monitor versus a horizontal one? A lot of folks do. They really genuinely do get a lot of functionality, whether it be having Discord on the side, stacking windows, all that kind of stuff. It's very, very nice, very functional stuff. Now, it doesn't work for everyone, but that almost certainly would solve your problem, just outright. And not to mention, you already have your PC on the right side relative to the monitor that you would be turning anyway. So it would be kind of a pain in the butt, but it's doable. Now, the other 2 are a little bit more dramatic. So the number 2 of the least dramatic of the 2 really would be just raising it. But again, I think it'd be too high. I think it'd be too high up based on your vision line. So I don't know if that's viable. And then number 3 would actually be to literally cut it. Like you could use like a actual like Dremel and cut it. And that sounds crazy, but it's not as crazy as you would think. If you don't ever plan on using that vertical space on the monitor mount, then you could definitely take a Dremel if you're have your dad do it, like somebody who knows what they're doing tools wise and has the proper PPE and gear and all that stuff. Do not use any of that stuff without goggles or knowing what you're doing. You will hurt yourself. But if you have someone who knows how to do that stuff, has the gear, knows how to do it, you could cut it, and that would solve your problem too.